Hey guys, it's been a while, but I'm back. My first video has now surpassed 100.5 views. Not bad for a first impression. Since y'all really seemed to like the first video, I figured I'd go back to my roots and talk about the top 10 games I personally believe Apple should port over to iOS. And to all the fandroids who are about to say, why not just emulate it? Oh, that's right, Apple makes that way too hard for you. In order to emulate a game to iOS, you must first learn how to emulate and what that even means, and then unofficially bring big name titles to your app basically without big game's permission. And in my personal opinion, that completely defeats the whole purpose of iOS's simplicity. So of course they're not going to incentivize you to do that. It goes entirely against their whole motto. Not to mention emulation mostly requires compromising security, which is Apple's second motto. If you take out simplicity and privacy, you essentially don't have iOS. Apple is Apple, and Android is Android. Oh, and since we finally have controller support for iOS and have now had it for over 2 years, there is now little to no excuse why developers can't port just about anything to iOS now. So without further ado, let's go! Number 10. Cooking Mama. Now I know what you're about to say. Cooking Mama? Really? Well, that's one of the reasons it's number 10. But honestly, if you think about it, this one actually makes more sense than you think it would. I'd say it had a fairly big fan base when it first came out and would definitely benefit from the Apple Pencil. Kinda like when they ported over Scribblenauts. I'd imagine it's not hard to port over considering this was already a mobile game, and I'm sure what's left of the community would greatly appreciate it. Heck, it might even bring new fans to the table. No pun intended. Number 9. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. I'll be honest with you guys, this one would have been ranked way higher, like in the top 3, but I had to rank it 9. Why? Well, Rockstar Games doesn't seem interested in bringing the game over to iOS, and frankly, I doubt they ever will. It seems like this is the only major holdout left to complete all of Rockstar's iconic hits on iOS. Not sure why they seem so hasty to bring Grand Theft Auto over, but turn a blind eye to what is considered arguably one of the best Western video games of all time. I think so many people would beam with joy if they could have the Wild West tucked in their pockets at a moment's notice. I know I would.
Hey guys, so I was originally going to list number 8 as Little Big Planet and saw that Run Sackboy Run was already in the App Store, and I just always pass it on by as nothing but a terrible, watered-down version of an old classic. But much to my surprise, it's actually really, really good. Like, I was not expecting it to be this good, guys. So much so that I'm actually taking it off the list. But it isn't perfect, and from what I've seen so far, there are 3 main problems that still need to be briefly addressed. The first one being that you can't create your own levels. Second, you can choose which character you want to be, but you still can't create your own. And 3, it has to be this really weird running style. I actually don't have much of a problem with this though. I just wish we could have the choice to play a new minigame every day that wasn't tethered to this running style. Heck, I'm not even saying that they should get rid of that. They can still make it the main point of playing the game for all I care. I just also want the choice of playing this casual game, well, casually.
Okay, back to the video. Number 8. Halo. Okay, now we're starting to enter territory where these ports really start making sense. Obviously, this game series has a huge fan base, but it's not what it used to be. Remember the original Xbox days? Heck, even the Xbox 360? This game was the talk of the town. And I seriously believe if this was revived in some way on mobile, it'd really wake up a sleeping giant. Heck, it might even bring a whole new generation who's never played the game. For a while, there really wasn't anything like it. And then Call of Duty tried to rip them off. Again, and again, and again. And again. Which brings me to my next one. Re-release Call of Duty Nazi Zombies. My request, no, demand, is that Activision stop getting every other idea from Future Wars, Space Wars, or Future Space Wars and get back to the drawing board to bring back a beloved classic that's still a fan favorite today. They already knew this, and that's why they ported it over to iOS in the first place, and just for a brief split second, we got to experience what world peace was. Then it got delisted.
God, please, no!
The problem? The controls, or lack thereof. As disappointing as an experience this was also a very necessary one, because it reminded us just how bad we really needed controller support. And yeah, I know we had it already, but it was a needlessly complicated experience that defeated the whole purpose of the simplicity of iOS. But guess what, Activision? We've got controller support now. Real controller support. The time has come to revive it before it too becomes a zombie itself. No more excuses, Activision. Number 6, My Sims. Not The Sims, My Sims. Due to my own wife's relentless demand, I had to add this one in. I mean, how could I not? I really can't blame her. This is the epitome of cozy gaming and would translate so well to our phones. As long as it's the Wii version and not the DS version, that is.
It's disgusting!
It's one of the most overlooked games in recent memory, simply because of its bigger brother. But you know what? This game's got a bigger fan base than you think it does. I guarantee you. This game's way too underrated and needs to stop living in its brother's shadow. Light the shades and end the charade. Number 5. Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5. Yeah, no, you read that right. In spite of every Rockstar game on iOS and all the Grand Theft Autos, they still have yet to acknowledge 4 and 5's existence. I'll be honest with you guys, it wasn't until a few years ago I even knew it wasn't on iOS. I just always took it as a given it'd be included in that Rockstar bundle they ported over a year ago. And if not, maybe it would come later or something. But no, I'm not gonna waste my time saying why they should come to iOS. But what I will say is that Rockstar made some really good ports for iOS, and there's really no reason why they can't do it again. Number 4. Uncharted. Round of hands if you got this for Christmas and played it for hours on end while everyone was wondering where you went. No? Round of hands if you got the remastered trilogy for PS4 and played all 3 games for Christmas and played it for hours on end while everyone was wondering where you went. This is one of my personal favorite video games of all time, especially the 4th one. There's just something about following a snappy adventurer with bad blood and worse luck. And when you're finally at your thief's end and you get to reap in the rewards from your long journey, it really makes us wish we could be Nathan Drake. It could really push the boundaries of what's possible on iOS. And since Sony's president said we'd be seeing officially licensed PlayStation IPs coming next year, I can't think of a better way to kick it off. Number 3, Tomb Raider. Though Uncharted might please the average PlayStation fan, you know what would please every other player? Getting to be Lara Croft. It would be so awesome if this game could come to iOS in some way. And yeah, I know, there's Lara Croft Go, but let's stop pretending to like it. That game sucks, man. I'm talking like a real console level experience. Just imagine for a second waiting for the Uber, or soaking up every second of your lunch break. Being able to whip this game out of your pocket anywhere, anytime? You gotta admit, that's pretty compelling. Even if you're less familiar with the game, this would be a great platform to start it on. Number 2. The LEGO video game series. Guys, I was going back and forth on whether or not to make this number 1, because it's just so obvious. And of every game on planet Earth that could be ported over to iOS, I can't think of one that would be easier to port. I mean, look at it. You're gonna sit here and tell me this is a graphics-intensive game? I know developer, but there's no way this franchise could be hard. It'd probably be a piece of cake. I'd imagine all they'd really need to do is hit the copy and paste button. And on top of that, when LEGO Star Wars was ported over, it proved it was casual enough to be completely controller-free while providing engaging storytelling with complete ease of mind. And given its Goliath-sized fan base, myself included, Apple and LEGO would be setting a Trojan horse free in the App Store. Of all the games and franchises I listed, this one makes the most sense to me. And yeah, I know, they've already got others on there, but they're disgusting, borderline insulting, watered-down versions of their console brothers. And in my eyes,
That's not good enough!
I've researched why on earth LEGO hasn't done this yet, more than I care to admit, and time again, I've fallen short of a simple, straightforward answer. LEGO, this would literally only be in your best interest. And for crying out loud, give us multiplayer support for LEGO Star Wars. It literally defeats the whole purpose of playing LEGO video games. This is embarrassing. Okay, side rant over. But before I get to number 1, you all know that narrowing it down to 10 is way too unfair. So I figured I'd list some honorable mentions, just in case I may have missed a beloved classic you may have grown up with.
Hey, you're finally awake. You were trying to...
We're rich! Oh, we are going to the major leagues, Jackie! Jack?
Kill you. But first, we're gonna make you suffer. We have the target. Just say the word and I'll end this now. Gotham will be ours.
So wait. If Tomb Raider wasn't number 1, and Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 weren't number 1, and Red Dead Redemption wasn't even number 1, then what is? Get ready to feel nostalgic, guys. I want you to boot up that old PlayStation 2 of yours that's been collecting dust and hear the sound of the iconic start screen kick in. It's a licensed game from one of the most beloved franchises of all time with a fan base that dwarfs the LEGO video games and Grand Theft Auto communities.
A name you all know. It starts with an S.
That's me!
Please welcome our new
video game.
The Simpsons Hit and Run. Here's a challenge for you. In a room full of nothing but classic gamers, ask them what their very first video game was, or better yet, ask them what their favorite video game of all time is, and see how long you can go without one of them saying The Simpsons Hit and Run. You'd be surprised, and everyone else was too. This was a game people admittedly didn't have many doubts about being at least somewhat successful, but nobody was expecting it to be this good. If you're a Simpsons fan, this game exists in your mind, even if you've never played the game. And if you're a Hit and Run fan, you can still enjoy the game even if you've never seen the show. And if you're both a fan of the show and the game like me, then this game is a match made in heaven. This game remains a permanent staple in my childhood and was the very first real video game I've ever played. It's the video game that really got me into gaming. Its fun is as endless as the show's runtime and doesn't let up on something for you to do. I seriously can't think of any other game that even comes close to porting on iOS that would make more sense. Having Springfield in your pocket? Yes please. But it still hasn't been ported to iOS yet. Radical Games, Vivian, however you pronounce that, games.
You should be ashamed of yourself!
It's an absolute crying shame this handcrafted from the gods action adventurer isn't in the hands of iOS users to inevitably take it for granted. This game deserves way more attention. Heck, even the guys who originally made the game wanted a sequel but couldn't get it to happen. The next best thing? Getting it in your pocket. Well, that's my top 10 video games I think they should bring to iOS. What do you think of my list? Any of them you agree with? Disagree with? Or are there any I might not have mentioned? All that good stuff, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.